This video is for you if you love shredding on a bike and you want to do cool stuff like jumping, and you hate looking like you're nowhere near as good as your bike. Pay attention, I'll give you the keys here, let's go. And what's missing that I'm seeing out there is step-by-step how to practice. I'm talking the details in this one. So we're gonna be doing exactly how to measure the jump, how often to practice, how much to practice to know that you got it, how to do it safely. And the key here is that if you listen for the entire episode, it's only gonna get better because I'm gonna have more and more caffeine in my system. I don't know how to do this. Let's get started. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dave Davidson. I am the founder of Mountain Bike Academy, and I'm on a mission to solve the crash crisis that we have here in mountain biking by restoring athleticism. So if you are with me, like this video, share this with as many people as we can. We want to have more riders shredding with confidence and fewer crashing. Let's go. What you're gonna need for this one is, I like full face helmet. If you don't have a full face, that's fine, but full face, they look cooler, they're more protective, and I mean, dude, like, these things are way cooler. You're also gonna need your bike you feel most comfortable on, and the one that you probably will do jumps on when you go ride your bike. So you don't need to switch the bike that you most commonly use to learn jumping, however that is a good tool, but I just want you to do the most predictable thing. And also, you wanna make sure that your bike has your seat down low or your dropper post is slammed for all of the drills we're about to do in this video. So you're gonna wanna save this video now. There's a button right below. The reason why you wanna save it is because I will be giving you some drills you need to go out and practice and then come back to this video and reference so that you know you got them right. So you might notice I've got a little 18-foot jump right here in front of me. We're gonna go the opposite. We're gonna go over there where there's no jump. And the reason why, before you say, okay, another stupid basic drill video, this is what I would do with a professional rider or an advanced rider, because regression of the skill means we can isolate certain pressure control and timing aspects of the move that give you expert level skills, okay? Okay, most important thing to start with if you want expert level jumping skills is you want a really, really refined ability to create pressure using momentum, okay? So how we're gonna do this is through a drill where we're not even gonna leave the ground. So again, before you guys say, man, these drills are really boring, they suck, and I want the advanced stuff, this is the advanced stuff. If you can't do this, then you're automatically skipping the foundation that makes you look like you know what you're doing. So don't be a fool and go, okay, well, I don't need this stuff. Yeah, you do. I've been doing this for 20 years and I practice this stuff still. We're gonna use the momentum from our torso to create downward movement, and then we're going to interrupt that movement and we're going to transfer that energy through the pedals like this. So we're gonna drop the torso, free falling, dropping the torso, and then we're going to press through the feet as hard and fast as we can at first. And then we're gonna play around with this. So this drill, you can practice this all the time, anywhere. You just need a boring, empty field, okay? So I'll demonstrate real quick what the main skill is. If you've been watching the channel, you've seen this before, no big surprise. So I'm just going to drop and stomp, press through my feet. Shout out to Shams March and BICP, they call it the stomp. It is a common term there, but I do want to give credit where credit's due. Okay, so how you know you've got this drill right, and you need to slow down and do it like I did there, is you need to film yourself, okay? If you film yourself, you should notice your shocks and your fork both compressing almost all the way. Doesn't matter if you're on a long travel bike, short travel bike, you should be able to compress your bike through a good bit of the travel, like 60, 70, 80%. And when you watch yourself, notice where the movement is. When you're slamming those feet straight down into the ground, you want to notice, okay, is my movement forward and back and all over the place? Am I rocking my body up and down? You're not getting this. In fact, I would say if you're noticing a lot of movement outside of the torso, then do not go hit jumps. You are not ready. And again, like I put this in the title, you're gonna hate this. And I really mean that. So sometimes those are clickbait titles, but this time I'm dead effing serious, guys. Like, Mountain biking is dangerous. You got to take this part, you got to take this part seriously. So how you know you've got it right, again, watch the video really closely. You're gonna notice that my torso just drops, and then you're gonna notice that all the energy seems to just extend and move through the bike. What this feels like is you're just standing still on a trampoline and you're bouncing your feet down on the trampoline without jumping on the trampoline. In other words, your head and your torso, if you were on a trampoline, you're just kind of like moving a little bit, but you're not jumping on the trampoline and going back up. So specifically how this is important is there's 2 phases of jumping the bike that I'll cover here in a few short minutes. So I'll bring this back into how to bring this to your jumping practice specifically. Now let's move on to the next level, which is we're going to be doing a basic front wheel lift. I've done this so many times, and honestly, I've got a really good video on this in my 12 beginner basics video. I think it's got 460,000 organic views. If I'm not mistaken, it's like the first skill, but there's also a little menu you can select from, and you can go watch that when you're done with this video if you want a little bit of a deeper dive. But the very, very basics are we want to use just that lower body to generate enough force, and we want to get out of the way and let the front come up. How you know you've got this skill down is that you land super balanced, number 1. Number 2 is that it's even pressure through both feet. Now, this is harder than it looks. If you can't do this one, you're not ready to jump your mountain bike. You're not ready to jump your mountain bike if you can't do this. You should be able to do 5 or 10 of these little lifts. I'm gonna yell at you through the TV screen now, guys, so if you're pulling with your arms, stop it. I want to demonstrate that. Zoom in, Mr. Editor. Do not copy me, but you can do this without your hands. If I am lifting, it is like an 1/18 of an ounce of force here. I'm only holding on with my hands just so I don't like lose the bars completely, okay? I'm not pulling. So a question I get asked a lot about this front wheel lift is like, why is it so hard? It's really hard because it requires you to have dissociation of the pelvis, which is the hip bone, this thing, and the femur, so that you can do this without moving the hip. If the femur and the pelvis are not dissociated, it kills your power transfer by like 80%. It just means that you're kind of like you have a dead leg. It has a lot of muscle and strength on it, but you're not able to access any of it. And that happens because people sit down for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. It's kind of normal, not your fault. You know, modern life does it to you. Another reason why it's so hard to do this, even though it looks really easy, is that you need to be able to have really good core strength while you're moving. So again, don't copy me, but I always demonstrate this by punching myself and talking and moving. Like, you need to have a strong core that creates stability and pressure in all different ranges of motion. And if you don't have that, then all of your back muscles and you have to hold on to the bars and you have to pull in order to do a very basic move, which again makes everything fall apart. So can you guys see now why I'm slowing you down so much? Because if you can't even lift your front wheel 3 inches off the ground without using the wrong muscles and landing off balance, then it is extremely dangerous to go try to send a 10, 20, 30 footer and use speed. Because speed is your enemy with jumping. Speed is not your friend. Compensating with speed is not your friend. All right, so let's move on to the next one, rear wheel lift. So an isolated rear wheel lift, what we want to do is the same exact thing, but just a little bit of rolling the body forward. I'm not doing much, but I'm just going to scoop with my back foot a little bit, tiny scoop. This upward motion is a rebound, not a lift. Okay, this is a lift. Super hard, super dumb, don't do that. This is a rebound. Okay, you need to practice this. This right here, really important little move. My ground is really squishy. All right, do that one until you can do it 10, 15 times in a row. It might take you a couple weeks to master it. That's okay, do the work. Why the rear wheel lift is so important for jumping your mountain bike is it helps us to create the motion that we need in midair, where the torso is going one way and we're bringing the bike with us. This gives us control in the air. That's it. Now next, this is where it can get a little bit fun, and Again, all you need for this one is just some flat ground. Hopefully yours is not as squishy as mine, but you need the flat ground and the no consequences, because it's gonna allow us to focus on the technique of lifting the front wheel and lifting the rear wheel with timing, and give us the body awareness we need to actually control the bike. Most riders, what they do is they hit a jump and they passively absorb, and they like try to hold on as best as they can, and they're just kind of holding on to a kinetic ball of energy that goes that way, and then they hope and land, and sometimes it works out, but it's not really a victory if you do it that way. So what we're doing here is we're bringing in awareness to the mind-body connection of we're creating a compression and absorption phase without a jump, without risk. If you mess this up, nothing happens. You roll away on your bike, it's kind of fun. So what we want to do is we want to start with just like a marker. Start with just like a cone or something on the side where there's no risk. I'm going to go ahead and show you with a board just so that you can see me jumping over it, and we'll go from there. So what we're going to do is we're going to time the front and the rear wheel lift using just the torso. So again, I'm not pulling and pushing with the arms. That's bad. That creates extra motion. I feel like I pulled my bicep tendon. My ancestors are calling and they're asking what in the world I'm doing to ruin my life. They didn't go to battle for eons just so that I could lift like a goon. Do you see that? I'm using the momentum of my torso to create downward force. You practice this one 10, 20 times. I practice it until you can't get it wrong. Couple tips for this one. Where my hardtail homies at? It's the same. You guys are like, what about a hardtail? Well, you have suspension in your tire. You just need to go, everything I'm telling you here, go faster, potentially less range of motion, but just like more whop, rather than whoosh. If you got an 8-inch downhill bike, it's whoosh, rather than whoosh. With a hardtail, it's pop. Everything is just faster, and that's how we know we're talking with each other, right? Like we're the real riders if we can use sound effects to communicate. Again, practice this one until you can't get it wrong, until you have to, until you don't have to think about it. And then that means that, great, well, you've got the sequence right. Now that we've got the sequence right, let's move on to the next one, which is going to be called the level lift, or just the, I think it's like an English bunny hop. Yeah, because the J hop is where you jump and the front tire comes up in the air and then you spring off the back tire and then come back down. I think that's more of like a J hop or an American bunny hop. I've been riding for 20 years. I don't know my terms. Who cares? With this one, what we're doing is we're going to generate enough compression, and we're going to time our absorption where we leave the ground. And we're going to do this in a very controlled fashion with as little movement as possible. The reason why we want to do this is so we can feel what it feels like to preload and deload the bike at speed. So we want to go a little faster for this one, and you can still use the log if you want to. I would start without the wood, just come through and like that. What you're going to notice is that my back foot does that little scoopy scoop. You can do both feet scooping. If you land both tires at exactly the same time, that's good. Not super required that you're perfect at that. What's more important is that you land balanced side to side. I was off balance that time. Do this one until you can't get it wrong. Watch my body here. The key here is not pulling with the arms. If I pull the arms, watch what happens with my torso. It kills the height. Interesting. Missed. All right, now we're ready to take what we just did and our timing and our pressure control, and we're ready to go take it to a small jump. Okay, when you're practicing, you need something that's predictable and you need something that's controlled, but also challenges you just a little bit. We need to find something that's not this mellow, because this is too mellow. This is like 9, 10 inches tall and very, very, when I say mellow, that means the steepness of the upside is like not steep. So this one's not going to give us enough forces against gravity to really feel the pop of the jump. You also don't want to start on something like this because A, this complexity of a gap is not something you want to deal with at first to practice on, and it is not maintained. And also you can see, if I look down from right here, this is really steep, and the jump starts transitioning to the steepness about a bike length away, 35, 40 degrees. way too steep to practice on. Stay away from something like this. We're getting a little warmer. I apologize. This is not done. I've spent the last 3 weeks holding my newborn baby and not digging holes. This is a really good jump and transition to practice on. This is a more mellow one. We've got about, I don't know if you can see it, about a bike length and a half of length. So from here to here, I got a bike length and a half of time where we're going up. And then the steepness is pretty mellow. It's about, I don't know, 15, 20 degrees. And then we've got a nice flat bike length and a half to 2 bike lengths on the top of the tabletop. This is the tabletop before a nice long lander. This is a good place to practice. I'll put a video in right now of like the perfect size to practice on, of about a bike length and a half, 2 bike lengths, where I do have a video of me hitting it so you can see that for reference. So the next drill I'm gonna give you, you gotta slow it down, all right? So let's do it. I can almost hide behind this tree, so I will. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the drills that we just practiced and we're going to take them to the jump. What we're gonna do is called the slow it down drill. And we're just gonna do that level lift or that like straight up and down right here before we get to the top of the table. And the reason my bike is here is so you guys can aim for this spot. You wanna land here. Notice that the back wheel is like on the lip or just past the lip. The reason we wanna do this is so we can test that we've done the move the right way before adding speed. Let's do it. Soft dirt right now. There we go. So the purpose here is not to essentially get more air, it's to feel what it feels like to go in the air because you compressed and absorbed, okay? So there's 2 phases of jumping, compressing and absorbing. Now, if you want maximum pop, which is where you fly through the air really, really high, then you pretty much are doing all compression. Not a lot of absorbing. And if you are doing a race jump where you want to go fast and low, you pretty much, you're going to be doing some compressing, but there's a lot of absorbing going on. With this one, we want to do a nice pronounced compress, and we want to feel what the absorption feels like rather than have the jump kick us and then we're reacting and flying through the air. So what this feels like, it's like jumping on a trampoline where you get bounced. It feels like standing on flat ground and doing triple extension and popping through into the air. And then that moment where we're floating, we want to create that for a split second here. What we want to do is do this a whole bunch, create that moment of float with the body where we still feel connected to the bike, then add speed. But before you do, got a couple drills. Drill number 1 is you want to check in and make sure you're not pulling or pushing with your arms too much. Notice how I'm nice and still, that little feeling of weightlessness. My body is nice and still. It's like, oh, the bars are kind of coming up to me. I'm gonna go set the bike down a little bit, right? So the key here is you want to have your chin over stem pretty much the entire time, all right? When I'm going up the jump, I don't wanna be too far back. This feels like hanging off the bars and then hanging on for dear life, and the front slams down when we land. We also don't wanna be compressed too much. So a good check-in here is if you're going up these little jumps and you're not going very far, it's, do you feel and notice your legs coming up to you because the jump is pushing them up? That means that you're not standing up. To be honest with you, a lot of this has to do with neuromuscular programming, and I can't fix that through a YouTube video. It's not possible. You need to work on your fitness, all right? So I'm trying to give you as many drills to isolate that out as possible here for absolutely free. But if you're like, man, I'm still compressing, a little bit of a chance that's fear if you're doing this drill. A lot of chance that it is you need to fix your athleticism, and that is a big deal. So can't do that here on this video, but this is everything else I can give you. Now, before we go to the next couple drills, here's all the check-ins, just rapid fire. You wanna have equal pressing through both feet, all right? So does it feel, can you do this consistently 5, 10, 20 times in a row where you press through both feet equally and you feel stable? In other words, you're not falling left or right. Number 2 is we need to keep our head looking forward. Why we want to do this is because if you're starting to look down, 1, the bike will tip forward, and then 2, it'll throw off your mechanics. It's okay to look at the end of the jump, that's fine, but we don't want to be looking down where most of our field of view has just our tire in it. That is just, it'll make you crash, so don't do that. Number 3, if you are using your arms, we want it to be like kind of an equal feeling fore and aft. In other words, we're not getting pushed forward and back, right? So if you're pushing through your arms a little bit, different geometries, different styles of rider, like if you're a BMXer or something like that, and you're trying to relearn how to jump, you're gonna be more advanced. If you're a cross-country rider, your tendency is going to be to push and pull inside of a hinge like this, and your legs will just stand like completely still. Horrible technique. It will not help you. You'll probably crash, okay? So what you need to do is let your hands track with the movement of the feet, okay? Just think about if you're going to press with your hands or pull with your hands, just make sure the movement of the bike is led by the feet. So compression, where we're standing up, just like we were in the drills before, the hands kind of follow the feet. And again, whether you're pushing or pulling, it comes later, doesn't matter. What matters is that you're not creating a force that separates your body's connectivity. Again, so like, let me break this down technically. So if I'm jumping and I'm pressing with my feet and also hanging off the back and pulling with my arms, like this, what I'm doing is creating force through the back tire. Can you guys see my shock compressing? This actually creates more force than if I were just pushing like that, all right? So that's technically me pulling up on the bars. That's what a lot of goons say. So when we're pulling up, that's what they mean. It's where you're really standing up through the hips and you're using your arms as a counter. So when I slam through, that force goes through the back tire at a higher rate. Pretty cool. Final thing that I would say as a tip for this stage of jumping as well is don't push the bike forward. That is a bad habit for a lot of you, and you just want to stay chin over stem. Again, less movement is more better. Do that. Now you're ready for the next step, which is add more speed, go further. Oh my gosh, it's a mess. Yeah, so what you're gonna notice here is just add speed, but make sure you're still compressing as much as you were before. Our tendency is to let our speed carry us and like absorb more than we push into the bike. So maintain the same amount of press through the feet and even increase it and see if you can go halfway down. Then go a little further, then go a little further. How you know you got this right is you can land both tires at the same time and you're balanced left to right and your chin over stem. So just think about being really, really centered on the bike. 2 tires. I got a whole other video on this called the torso plus 2 tire technique. It's a mouthful, but yeah, you can watch that here. For some of the more advanced stuff, let's see if we can go a little bit further. Here's a little goal for you. Try to get as much air as you can. There you go. That example is pretty much what you want to do. It's all about taking the skills that we built up to and adding them in right there. Everything right here matters the most. Final tip for you, with the chin over stem, if you want to, take your bike from here to bring it up to you, just scoop your feet behind you, easy. Toes down just like this, scoop them up a little bit. Bike will follow right along, it's a lot of fun.